I guess when most of us think of healing in relation to God, the first thing that springs to mind is a miracle. Suddenly someone can walk after being paralysed for years. Suddenly the deaf can hear. And as we heard in the story about Bartimaeus, the blind can suddenly see. These are miracles, awesome spectacles that capture the imagination and stun the mind. Wow! That is the reaction we normally have to miracles, isn't it? Wow! But to me, there is so much more to God's healing than flashy miracles. To me, God's healing is quiet, almost unnoticed, and something that happens every day. During our normal, unremarkable, or remarkable lives. Don't get me wrong, the physical healings spoken of, not only in the Bible, but in anecdotes throughout history, are great. But they are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the healing power of God and of faith. In the song we sang earlier, "We will seek your face, Almighty God," we ask God to heal the land, and we ask that revival starts with us, so that every heart will know that God's kingdom is here. This is a really powerful message, but when it speaks of revival and hearts, it seems to me that the revival we need isn't religious or theological, a sudden rise in Christianity, in Islam or Buddhism, to name but a few. No, I believe that the revival needed will not only start with us, that's a general us, people of faith, but that the revival will be a spiritual revival within all of our hearts. At this point, I'm reminded of the song by Chris Tomlin, "No Chains on Me." In it, he sings of being abandoned by cold religion. Cold religion. What a great phrase. And often it seems that religion is cold, or that it leaves people cold, unmoved, uninterested, and, to use a buzzword, disenfranchised. So to my mind, the revival needed is within ourselves, so that we can truly see everyone we meet as a child of God and love them as such. That is the revival I think of when I sing that song and when I pray. That, to me, would be a true healing for any land. I used to be a very different person, and I mean a very different person. There was a time when I truly felt that I was two distinct people living in a single body. There was the person I liked, affable, cheerful, friendly, helpful. Let's call that nice me. Then there was a person I didn't like, miserable, angry, isolated, rude. We'll call that the dark me. I went into therapy. I saw a very nice psychiatrist, but I resisted it every step of the way. I blocked every attempt she made to help me. Seems daft really, doesn't it? Here was this very nice lady doing everything she could to help me improve my life, to feel better. And I was digging my heels in and saying, "Whoa, no thanks, not for me." But why? The answer's simple really. I was scared. Well, to be honest, I was absolutely terrified. The thing that scared me most was that in the end, I would be just one person. And I was worried that it would be the person I didn't like, the dark me. That I would discover that the real me was the darker me. To my mind, it was better to have two distinct parts than risk losing the nice me. This lasted for a number of years, with me roaming around like a kind of human bog off. You buy one, you get one free. It's an Andrew sale, everything must go. Then I began on what I usually refer to as my spiritual journey. I was researching Christ, looking into God, questioning everything. And slowly, well, very slowly, I moved towards faith in the presence of God. Then when I eventually allowed God into my life fully, I slowly, and almost by osmosis I guess, became a whole person. Those two parts of me became fused together into a complete whole, and I came to accept that there were parts of me that were dark, parts of me that I really didn't like that much. When I finally accepted that, when I realised that fact, which seems pretty obvious to me now, I guess, those darker parts began to fade. It was incredible. What drugs and therapy had failed to achieve just seemed to happen, and all because I finally let go and let God into my life fully. I gave up trying to manage everything, to control it all, and suddenly my life was improving. That to me is the true miracle of healing. And in taking that step of faith, that scary first step of faith, all of that sorrow, that anger, that self-hatred and disgust began to unknot itself from inside me. I became strong enough to look it all square in the face and stare it down. I wasn't running away from it anymore. No more fear of being the person I disliked and losing the person I liked. I was a whole individual. No more hiding from it. Instead, lifting it up to the light, embracing it and accepting it as a part of me. In doing that, those feelings, that darker side, lost its power over me, and I, along with my whole life in general really, began to change. I call that transformational healing. Now, I don't know if that's a phrase, it's just what I've called it. Healing that changed my entire life. And the kicker is that all I had to do was accept it. All I had to do was seize that chance to become whole, and not the fragmented, scared, angry person I had been. Seems like a no-brainer really, doesn't it? It was absolutely terrifying though. I had for so long been that divided person that I didn't know how to be anything else. How would I cope? How should I behave? It was uncharted waters, all totally new to me. In fact, it was in many ways like being born again. A whole new life. It was quite possibly the bravest thing I have ever done. Taking that first step. Surrendering my ego to God and moving forward out of my comfort zone. My safe place. The security of the well-known, those well-worn paths of behaviour. But it was so worth it, so incredibly worth it. After that initial step, things began to move. Slowly at first, and then, well, to my mind anyway, stampeding along like an avalanche, pushing me into new areas, new ideas, new beliefs, and a whole new outlook on my life in general. Suddenly, it was okay to be happy. It was okay to be sad. It was okay to be vulnerable. And it was okay to ask for help and support. Over time, that darker side faded. The fear subsided. The negative voices that I'd heard quietened. And a kind of true peace reached me. Of course, my life isn't perfect. I don't think anyone has a perfect life. We are humans, we are messy. I still have moments of doubt, moments of confusion, moments of stress, sadness, anger. But underneath them all, there is a quiet voice that keeps telling me, this too shall pass. My faith is there in everything I do. Even when I've doubted God's very existence, my faith is there. It's like the foundation of a house. No matter the changes you make to it, the extensions, the exterior or interior, the decorating, it is about the foundation that remains underpinning it all, supporting whatever it is you do. So to me, when we talk about God's healing, it isn't about the healing of physical ailments, although that's great. It is about the day-to-day healing, the healing of sorrow, grief, isolation, self-hatred, inner turmoil, the healing of our spirits, the healing of our hearts, the healing that makes us whole. Now that doesn't mean that all these things miraculously vanish, like Bartimaeus' blindness, but instead we gain strength to get through them somehow, to make them just a part of us, not the whole, and to always remember, this too shall pass. Thank you.